audio and even video recording. But besides that, it's still a high-end, high-spec smartphone. So I got the chance to check it out recently. I did the hands-on. Some of the guys checked it out on the site as well. And if you didn't watch our video of the drop test for the display, I definitely recommend so you can see the type of durability it has. But in this video, I'm actually gonna talk more about the display. I just got a unit in, ran some benchmark tests on it, and whenever I do a review, I like to look at the display and run those tests because it's one thing to look at a screen and say it looks really nice because it's bright, nice, vivid colors, but it's mostly subjective. But it's totally another when I run these benchmark tests and they deliver these results that tell me whether or not a panel is, color accurate, what kind of color temperature, whether or not it's bright or too dim. And all that really helps to tell me exactly what is a superior display. So I'm going to dive in, talk more about the V20's display. I'm going to even compare it against some other handsets out there like the Galaxy S7, the S7 Edge, the Note 7, and even the LG G5. So let's just jump right in and talk about the panel. First thing I'm going to talk about here is the specs for the display. Now, the V20 actually has the same specs as the V10, so that's a 5.7-inch Quad HD IPS LCD screen, also with Gorilla Glass 4. So between the two, no difference, no change. But then again, that's not a bad thing either, because at 5.7 inches Quad HD, it's still more than detailed enough, especially when you're looking from a normal distance. They didn't really need to go anywhere else beyond that, so it's perfect just the way it is there. So next up, I'm going to talk about the brightness output. Now, when I tested out the V20, it actually reached an impressive mark of 714 nits. And in my testing in the past, other phones, anything more than 500 nits was pretty much visible outdoors when the sun is out. So at 714 nits, you take it outside, you look at it, more than visible. You're not gonna have any issues. And just as a comparison here, it actually is better than most of the Galaxy S devices. The Galaxy Note 7, the S7 Edge, the Galaxy S7, they generally reach a little bit over 500 nits, but nothing close to the 700 nit mark that this phone achieves. And when I compare the V20 to the G5 is actually a smidgen brighter, just a little bit. It tops out at 755 nits. So it looks like the IPS LCD screens are able to achieve a stronger luminance. So in terms of visibility, especially on bright sunny days, the G5 and also the V20 are pretty much solid with that. The next area I'm going to talk about is color temperature. And before I even ran the test for the V20, I could tell right away that it is a colder display because when I look at the color white on the screen, it has a distinguishable bluish tinge to it. Now for the V20, it has a very cold color temperature of 9100 Kelvin. That's really on one side of the spectrum. Now the ideal color temperature for a smartphone display is 6500 Kelvin, indicating that it's neither too warm or too cold. So if you're under 6500 Kelvin, you tend to have a yellowish tone with the color white, and anything above that, 6500 Kelvin, tends to be bluish in tone. So the V20, 9100 Kelvin, very cold. Same thing with the G5, it's around that 9000 Kelvin range, so it's far from the ideal reference value. On the flip side, when you look at the Super AMOLED displays from Samsung's camp, they are significantly better, very close to that 6500 Kelvin mark. The Galaxy S7, S7 Edge, and even the Note 7 all seem to be under 7000 Kelvin. Next up, I'm going to talk about its color accuracy in the sRGB gamut spectrum. Now, when I run this test, it measures all the colors, red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, and it produces this chart. And the chart shows us exactly how well a display is able to reproduce colors accurately. So in the case of the V20, it's pretty bad, just like the color temperature. So if you look at the chart, you can see exactly how it totally misses all the reference targets, which are the squares. When it reads each color, the dots are the actual values, and it's nowhere close to being color accurate. For example, you look at the color yellow. Yellows tend to be influenced by greens. You look at magenta, there's a noticeable bluish tone to them. And in my experience of testing displays out for the last couple of years, the easiest color to reproduce is teal. and in the case of the V20, it also fails in doing that. Now, there are phones that don't accurately produce teal, but the majority of phones, I'd say 90% phones, manage to do teal pretty well, but you could see here at the V20, nowhere close. So overall, when it comes to color accuracy, it's far from it. Okay, so after looking at the V20's display and running all the tests, to me, it's an okay display. You know, the specs are nice, great output with its brightness, but color temperature, color accuracy, viewing angles, they are subpar in those three areas. So to me, the display doesn't really draw me in from a first look, and that's important because, you know, when you look at a phone for the very first time, the first thing that you're probably going to see is the screen, the display. And it failed to really draw me in. It didn't really look as though it was vibrant or iridescent. It just lacked, something about it just was lacking, and it didn't really draw me in like the Super AMOLED displays in Samsung's phones. So to that regard, you know, it's not the best screen out there, nor does it really have the best qualities. It'll get the job done, you know, when it comes to visibility and also, you know, detail. But for everything else, you know, it's just meh, it's okay. So if you guys want to learn more about the V20's display, the benchmark tests I ran, all the charts and stuff, you could check them out on our website, androidauthority.com. This is John V, signing off.